Welcome back to another episode of the Elliot Reeves Show. I am Elliot Reeves, founder and host of Inspired Edinburgh, creator of this. And if you haven't already done so, then please subscribe to the channel. It would make a massive difference. I would very much appreciate it. I'm joined today by my good friend, Mr. Maxwell Muir, inspirational, international, keynote thought leadership speaker, personal development coach extraordinaire. Max, it's great to have you here. How are you doing?
Absolutely brilliant, Elliot.
Yeah.
Great to be here, and I'm looking forward to some deep chat.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we do best. How do you define yourself these days?
Oh, goodness me.
It's deep straight in at the start.
How long do I have? Define myself. I'm never satisfied.
Okay. Really?
I'm never satisfied as far as growth, because I don't ultimately know who I am.
Is that right?
It's. I know what I'm capable of. At the same time, I don't know what I'm capable of. So I'm always in search of being tested. It's a growth thing, and being 53. I'm in a hurry not to waste my time. So I try and use that time to learn about myself.
Okay.
And I think that's important for people.
Yeah.
For
it
anyone.
Absolutely is. 100%. How do you personally go about deepening your connection with yourself?
Well, there's a movie. Oh, goodness me. It's probably one of the movies where at the very start, a guy called Tom Waits was in the opening scene of the movie, and he's working behind this counter in a cafe. Rumblefish, I think, was the movie.
Okay.
At Mickey Rourke.
Right.
And the opening lines are something along the lines of, you know, when you're younger, you throw away a few years here, throw away a few years there. It don't matter. But when you get a little bit older, you start counting the amount of summers you got left. You might have something like 19 summers. He says, so think about that. 19 summers, time's a funny thing. It's always changing.
Yeah.
So, but when we get down to making the most, I don't count what summers I've got left or try and estimate it in any way, but I'm very conscious of what I want to do with the time I have.
Right, okay.
Daily, weekly, yearly, monthly, it don't matter.
Yeah.
It's precious to me now.
Yes. Yeah. There definitely comes a point in your life where you become more cognizant of the fact that the time that you have is kind of running out. I mean, I turned 36 this year.
Wow.
Which you know, it feels old. And you know, the whole idea of kind of approaching 40, I was just like, geez. You know, I looked it up. I was on Facebook the other day, and I was on a friend's Facebook page, and he had pictures from when we were at school. And literally, I was looking at it like, I still felt as though I was like there. I was still that guy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like 18 years ago, which in my head is so borderline like incomprehensible. I was like, how is that so long ago? And yet I can still remember it like it was yesterday, which is nuts, you know. But it's interesting what you say. It's like, how do you, like, who actually are you? What is it that makes you you?
Yeah. I think early 30s, 28 and 32 are two age numbers that I think where I was in some form or another at my peak.
Really?
In terms of physical development, you know, fitness, strength, power, thinking, all of that jazz. Yeah, you know, I liked those ages. I felt sharp at those ages. For some reason, there's something mental at the back of my mind when I was 32 that says, my wife was saying the other night, you know, you're not 32 anymore, you know, because I bring it up a lot, you know. I was doing,
do you really?
Yeah, I was doing something, I don't recall what, but 28 and 32, for some reason, were peak years for me.
Interesting.
It's a funny thing, that.
Yeah. They say that. Obviously, we both have an interest in combat sports, if you like, you know.
I love the fight game changed my life.
Is that right?
It changed how I looked at life. It changed how I felt about myself. I've followed it religiously. It started off with boxing. I got into Muay Thai, and now, as far as MMA and the UFC are concerned, and it's not what they do to each other in the sport. I appreciate martial arts on display.
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole mindset. It's the training camp.
Mm-hmm.
It's where they succeed and where they fail. I pay as much attention to the coaches as I do to the fighters.
Yeah.
I love the mindset of them. If I could be anything in life, my dream job right now would be in the corner, coaching a fighter, having that vital minute between rounds, steering them towards success through the training camps and everything else. Because in a way, you're living part of something you'd perhaps like to have tried yourself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. They say that about parents, actually. You always want your child to live the life that you never lived, or have the life that you never had.
That could be a source of a lot of conflict as well.
Big time, yeah. Absolutely. It's going back to the age thing, like 28 to 32, I think they say that a fighter's prime is pretty much in that zone, you know, around about 32. I think GSP said that. It's now that he's officially retired just the other day. But I think he was saying that it's like the intersection of your experience and your kind of fight knowledge and your physical prime and all that sort of stuff. It all kind of comes together and dovetails up seemingly around about 30, 32.
Yeah.
Which, it's funny because I look at games or other sports like rugby, for example. I mean, or even football, you'd be a borderline dinosaur at that age. In most positions, whereas in the fight game, which you'd have thought that would probably be even more extreme on your like your physicality and your well-being, that it's actually a bit, and for heavyweights as well, a lot of them can go a lot later.
I think mentally, even though it is a team sport, when you think of your corner team and all the rest of it, that ultimately you're doing it yourself. I think it's mentally very draining. Mm-hmm. And it's very testing, and you can't prepare for a lot of those tests until you're in there. Yeah, it is. I know it's a cliche. Racing car driving is dangerous. Rugby's dangerous, but the fight game is particularly high risk. And we were talking earlier on about Anderson Silva breaking his leg, and which was a short check with a leg. That's one of the most horrific injuries I've ever seen. Yeah. But they always have something at the back of their minds. I mean, fighters are very insecure people, but that's not a weakness. They have reasons to be concerned. And physically conditioning, very important. Mindset conditioning, that's a whole different ball game. Any fighter can be rattled. Look at Jose Aldo when Conor got him. Conor spent months getting under his skin, peeling away his confidence. Yeah. And then when he got to the glass inside, he smashed it.
How much do you think that fight was connected to all the events that kind of precipitated it, with Conor getting into his head? Because I wonder about that. I would have personally thought that there was a massive correlation or connection between the fact that Jose Aldo was put on like life tilt because Conor McGregor was pissing him off so much and just acting like an absolute buffoon, and so that would have very much affected his performance in the fight.
Well, when you look at the expectations before the fight, Jose Aldo, in his own right, undefeated for 10 years, pound for pound, arguably the best. Feared by the rest of the division. Nobody wanted kicked by him. Brilliant martial artist. No one had ever challenged him mentally. He'd never met anyone who'd insulted him mentally. And this goes back to the first fight with Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran. Duran won that fight mentally. He made Ray Leonard fight his fight. So what Conor done was, every opportunity, was publicly humiliated this champion. He had the audacity to strip him naked and flawlessly beat his character into the ground. It was all tactical.
Yeah.
And it was a masterclass. By the time they got there, Aldo looked worn out.
Yeah.
And his mind wasn't actually on the contest, and he got clipped because of it. He literally played right into Connor's left hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Masterclass. If there's one performance that defines what McGregor did, we were talking about outrageous earlier on. He's strategically, tactically outrageous.
Yeah.
He uses that as a skill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's intelligence behind it.
Yeah.
Ali used it. It's
Yeah. Because a lot of people are outrageous for the sake of being outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Connor's a smart guy. When you listen to him, there's an interview that he did with Ariel Helwani a while back, and he speaks about things like the law of attraction and, you know, everything that he's achieved, he had mapped out in his head.
Yeah.
You know, 100%. None of it's accidental. Whilst a lot of it may look off the cuff and whatnot, it's pretty much all of it is planned.
And he'd been talking about that when he was on the dole.
Yeah.
He was a qualified, was it a plumber or plasterer or something like that? And all his self-talk, all the hard work that he did that religiously. He knew that was the hub of the wheel. He needed to keep all that together, and that's how he's a businessman. It's a plan. He knows how to use his social media, and he puts his mind and body in condition to do the job. Yeah. You know, he talked himself from a different sport into a $10 million fight.
Yeah.
With Floyd Mayweather. Who's done that? In that sport.
Yeah.
And you know, hats off.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because we got on to speaking about outrage because you were talking about inspiration. And you were saying you like to be inspired, and you thought that most people like to be inspired, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 24/7.
Yeah.
Whereas I kind of have the belief that people prefer to be in the current world. The environment would, to me, suggests that people prefer to be outraged than inspired. And you said, and you were like, you quite enjoy being outraged at times.
Yeah.
What's good about outrage?
I think sometimes it's a good release. I mean, define an outrage. It's I like sometimes to see the cart get upset. I like to see all the apples fall out on the floor. I remember when Arnie says, break all the rules, man.
Yeah,
you know, break all the rules. You know, why do it this way? Because everybody says so. Go against the grain.
Yeah.
Send a fox into the chicken yard. Get things upset.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's a good way of generating interest. And you find results in certain ways of doing that. I don't mean being outrageous for the sake of just blowing a gasket.
Yes.
That there's no purpose to that.
Yeah. Well, it's going back to the Connor thing, right? It's like calculated outrage, intentional outrage.
Yeah.
Doing it with intention and knowing what you're doing when you're doing it, rather than just doing it mindlessly.
If 99 people say this is the way, why should it be the way? It's open to be toppled over.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that.
That's where most progress in the world's been made.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at the people that have really changed things, they've been mocked and humiliated for having a difference in opinion. They've stuck with it. They've stuck with their own belief in what they're doing, and some of them have gone right out to completely turn that cart over.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, no word is more kind of lauded than disruptive in the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah.
Like, disruption's a brilliant thing when it comes to business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Because change is constant now in this world.
Yeah.
It's not only every couple of years something new happens. It's constant.
Yeah.
And it's that thing, if you stand still, you wither. You know, you die. It's You've got to change with things, but that doesn't mean you have to. When you change with them, you can still change and be different.
Yeah.
Even yesterday's news is open to different interpretation.
Yeah, that's true. You're an avid reader, Max. What are you reading just now?
Well, I always read 4 or 5 books at a time.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I always write at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot on sports psychology. Constantly on that, actually. Always on performance, how our minds are affected. I'm passionate about in our game in our heads, regardless of what you're doing. I'm passionate about what stops us doing something. It happens to me. It happens to every living being. We always find a reason to stop something. I was thinking about this on the way in the drive, actually, referring back to the Wales game, the Wales-England rugby at the weekend. The commentator said something near the end of the game. He says, England need to score twice, and they got 30 seconds to do it. Now, you could interpret that as it's sort of sarky remark.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just look at how long a minute is. Now, a minute to victory or a minute to defeat? How many teams or individuals in their own arena have pulled it out the bag with a minute to go?
Yeah.
How much focus and concentration can go in a minute? Between rounds in a fight, whether it's a martial arts contest or a boxing fight or whatever, the cornermen, the cutmen and everything have a minute to do their job. That minute is crucial. And it's enough time to change things. Or we can feel that time's running out.
Yeah.
You know, the clock's ticking away.
Yeah.
So it's about using time effectively. I've lost the point of where I was going with this.
No, it's good.
But
we can steer this back on track, no problem.
But it's you were asking what I was reading, and so I read a lot about. I love the subject of focus and performance.
Yeah.
In any area, whether it's our own private lives, whether it's in business, sports, whatever, and it's making that use of time. And I love flow. I'll read about flow when I can. And Michael Clarkson's a great author on that, so I read a lot about him. He's got a book out called Competitive Fire. Well, it's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
I've read that 7 or 8 times.
I've never heard of that. I don't think I've ever heard of him.
Michael Clarkson, Competitive Fire. And it's about
Okay.
all the things, all the emotions an athlete can use to generate performance, like anger. Like, I'm fascinated. I love to read about athletes or businessmen who have come from damaging backgrounds.
Yeah.
You know, some have come from stricken poverty, some have come from abuse, some have come from severe bullying. It's all these things that can affect and can actually bring out greatness in you.
Yeah.
Because you got a reason to do something, you got something to bite down and chew on. I think that's important to a lot of people. Georges St. Pierre talks openly about the bullying he experienced as coming up as a child, and I've been there. I know exactly how deep that can go and how traumatizing it can be, but obviously how you can use it as well. Michael Jordan, I think it was his father that was shot dead or something like that, and he grew up in poverty, that he'd failed many times before he was ever able to do something. Boxing has its own testimonials, you know. But look at the business successes, people that come from nothing. It's fascinating. I think the worst that we can endure from early on can stand us in good stead for later on.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, bullying seems to be a common thread amongst certainly fighters, mixed martial artists.
It's massive.
Because it's primarily the reason that they got involved in the actual discipline.
Yeah.
They wanted to defend themselves. They wanted to be able to, like Connor, very much so. When he was younger, he was getting picked on by people, and he wanted to be able to stand up for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be a very common thing. Yeah. I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
That kind of ties everything together a little bit. If you were in the corner of Francis Ngannou when he was fighting against Stipe, and it was in, say, the second round, and he's just getting taken down and getting pounded, what would you say to him to like change his mindset and get him back in the game?
I saw the spirit go out of him midway through the first.
Yeah.
I remember that fight intimately because I had high expectations of him. Because he looks like what heavyweight champion of the world should look like.
Yeah.
He has it all.
Yeah.
The predator.
Yeah.
He is intimidating. He has a physique. He has the skills, but he doesn't have the belief at the high level.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got tired, it was nothing to do with physical conditioning. It was mental conditioning. And I saw the spirit go out of him. He had belief to a certain point, but when Stipe didn't go over, and Stipe was firing back, something happened to him, and his corner didn't recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have jumped on him as soon as he came back from the first round. I like to use in practice time, in daily life, what I call is little anchors.
Okay.
Little reminders that if they're rehearsed often enough, they're automatic, get you back on track tools. Because his mind had wandered. The occasion I got to him, he was rushed into a title fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he knocks out Alistair Overeem, and then they put him right there because they wanted a new heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
and that gave Stipe something to fight for too in defending his title. But he lost self-belief. It was like the air going out of a balloon. Mm-hmm. So I would have used some sort of reminders. There were too many people in the corner trying to do this and that to him. You need one man who's with you through the whole process. And this goes back to Michael Moore and Teddy Atlas.
Yeah.
Teddy Atlas was riding him like a jockey throughout the whole fight when they fought Holyfield.
Mm.
And I don't believe Moore would have beaten Holyfield that night had Teddy Atlas not been there.
Yeah.
He deserved more of Michael's purse than Moore did himself. And he was able to say little things to get him back on track and to keep his focus, to keep it intense. I believe the arena in the fight became the big picture for Ngannou, and that was his downfall. And the focus faded.
Yeah.
Whereas if you block out the arena, you block out the crowd, and you stay on the plan, it's a very tunnel vision thing. Mm-hmm. I'd have put in some sort of anchor and reminder to get Ngannou back into that lasered place.
Yeah. See, it's funny because when you speak about an anchor, it's like, and we'll kind of come to this. But I'm intrigued as to what you kind of mean by that, because it sounds very Darren Brown-esque, you know, like you see Darren Brown and at the beginning of the program he's got an objective for somebody at the very end of the program to his most recent show that he produced. I don't know if you've seen it, it's on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called, but there's a guy who he takes through this process who at the very end of it is whether or not he's going to take a bullet for somebody that he basically doesn't like. He's a kind of racist type guy. Okay. And it's like there's a Mexican guy or something, you know, there's like Mexican people, and it's like, is he going to take a bullet for one of them? And I won't spoil it for anyone, but basically Darren does these, like, say for example, he plays a little jingle, you know, and he associates that with a certain mood. Or it could be like every time you see a red balloon, you feel a certain feeling. And so at the climax, he puts a red balloon, and then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, it's like hero time, something like that.
Okay.
Is that like what you mean in terms of the anchor, or is it something less?
See, anchors happen every day. The word anchor was made sort of. I think Tony Robbins was one of the guys that kind of brought it out and it made it more widely known. But I was given a talk in customer service last weekend, and when you work for a company or a big chain and you're in a direct line with customers over the counter, how you deal with it can determine the success of your brand and the service that you give. You will always get difficult customers. And the goal was to depersonalize anything anybody said to you, because it's not personal.
Yeah.
And I used to do it myself. I used to, once upon a time, I worked in cocktail bars, I worked in 4 and 5 star hotels. It's, and the goal in depersonalizing it, this goes back to when Howard Schultz resurrected Starbucks. Through the Depression, he concentrated solely, because the key to his success was in staff training. Customers. Why should customers pay $4 for a coffee? And you're going to get people that have come in and give you a hard time. How are you going to deal with difficult customers? And they went through so much role play, they went through so much rehearsal that they drummed it in how they would react to certain situations. The way I did it in depersonalized things, it's quite simple, but it's very difficult to do, and you have to keep it simple. If someone came in and I misunderstood something, I remember one guy saying, "Are you deaf?" in front of other people. I'm making a drink, completely the wrong drink. I'd lost my train of thought somehow. "Are you deaf?" And the look he gave me, it could have killed. And I personalized it. You slam the glass down, you call him whatever when he goes off, and but if I was going to improve in that, the more I kept saying, okay, they've had a bad day. They've had a bad day. So if someone's abrupt, if someone's rude, if someone's offensive and insulting, they've had a bad day. And the more that's an anchor. The more often that's repeated, the better I deal with a situation. In fact, I'm able to diffuse a situation after that. And that's in the heart of where customer service lies. You can have someone who is having a bad day, are particularly rude and offensive. Not only can you diffuse it, but you can win them over. I mean, you can win them over and make them feel good, or make them feel bad about what they've done, but also make them feel good in seeing things from a different point of view. You've scored a great victory. And that's at the heart of, there's one speaker calls it celebrity customer service, Jeff Ram. And that's at the heart of what it is. You don't personalize anything. You look at the elite companies up there who take all this stuff. They know how to deal with situations. And dealing with a situation, there's always a different way to deal with it. Anchors are great, potent tools and how to diffuse it, but get a win.
Okay.
Get a win.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yeah.
I use anchors all the time, Elliot. It's always have done in my life.
Yeah.
It's like we're listening to Jocko about getting up out of bed. His alarm clock.
Yeah.
You're still lying there having a coffee, enjoying it. He's calling you a loser and all this. It's I use certain anchors, and you can count to 10 and give yourself your own get up.
Yeah.
You can be hard on yourself. If it's done often enough, it's going to work.
Yeah. One of my guests on Inspired Edinburgh, a guy called Jimmy Narain, who he's a young guy. He's a digital nomad. He's never lived in one place for the last 6 or so years. He's never lived in one place for more than a couple of months.
Wow.
He's constantly traveling. He's an online course creator on the learning platform Udemy. I don't know if you know of it, but it's basically, it's just entirely for online courses. And he's got about 20 courses on it. And he's just a really super driven, talented, interesting guy. And I was spending time with him, and his phone kept going off. And so he, it's in his pocket. So he'd take his phone out, he'd look at it, he'd just stop it. And then suddenly, literally just a handful of minutes later, his phone would go off, he looks at his phone, puts it off. And I'm like, who's phoning you? What's going on here? And he has a series of reminders throughout the day. He's got I don't know how many he's got. He must have 20 to 30 alarms that go off throughout the day that says something like, what are you not doing? What bullshit are you telling yourself? And that's just these constant reminders throughout the day as to prompts almost
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like, what are you not doing? Where are you cheating yourself? Go to the gym, get shit done, all this stuff. It's just, and I was like, wow, that's, I actually really like that as a way of keeping yourself accountable and doing stuff. Because when you get caught up, it's like being busy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You lose focus. If your brain's not absolutely, concentrated on the thing that it needs to do, it just ends up going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's a great way of kind of bringing you back to, right, this is my focus, this is what I need to get done, and I'm going to do it.
Some people need a lot of prompts.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need a lot of reminders. It's but it's not even always in relation to what you have to do. It can be while you're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if you consider a runner who is focusing on a great performance and they're maybe on the last lap, it's being able to prompt yourself in such a way so that the muscles that you are connected to in your mind are working, but you're able to relax everything else. Focus relaxation is a great prompt as well, because we can get uptight everywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas in some areas where there's definitely an amount of stress, where it's physical and mental, well, often two are married, it's important to focus on keeping them stressed but having the rest relaxed for optimal performance. And those prompts, it can be focus, breathe, relax.
Yeah.
Go, breath is everything. As simple as it is. It's
Yeah.
a lot of sprinters I know use that focus, breathe, relax, and they're about to burst. They're about to go for it just with high intensity. And a lot of speakers get that. A lot of business people get that. They use prompts, which are reminders. They're anchors. They're little cues to keep you on track and to keep you performing for that certain amount of time.
Yeah. What are some of your negative or destructive habits that you're either working on improving or have managed to kind of overcome?
I working a lot on trying to refocus very quickly and not getting very annoyed or irritated for long.
Right, okay.
That's one of my weaknesses. I can tend to get really irritated.
Okay.
If the environment is toxic in relation to what I want to do. So if I want peace and quiet, something, and there's something in the background that takes my focus away, and I find myself getting emotionally involved and angry even, it's about checking that and getting back on track, because irritation and anger and stress, they're powerful emotions. They are powerful emotions, so it takes practice to stop them in their tracks. I'm not talking about rage or anything. I'm talking about a controlled thing, but maybe irritation and anger is not conducive to what you want to do. So it's a skill to stop that in its tracks and say, listen, can I tune that out? Can I tune that out? Can I bring that noise down? It's there. I can't make it go away.
Yeah.
But I can bring it down. So other bad habits are getting caught up probably in too much planning.
Okay.
I tend to over-plan things, and I tend to get a bit hard on myself for achieving 70% of them, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Planning's a great way of procrastinating as well.
Yeah.
But destructive habits. I also battle old thoughts that I had when I was young.
Okay.
Because I come from an emotionally irritated background. So before I got into what we call personal development, personal growth mindset and all of that, I didn't have any mindset. The place I live, if you imagine what type of home you live in and what type of thoughts you have, that could be a mansion with a lovely garden, or it can be a damp, danky flat with everything disorganized, lying all over the place. I used to live in that damp, danky flat. And sometimes I reminisce a lot sometimes on purpose, but other times my mind drifts there. It could be something someone says. It could be an environment that I pass that brings back a memory or something like that. I've got very strong memories of a lot of my life. I can remember extraordinarily far back.
Yeah.
I can remember little conversations that I had even as a very young boy with parents and other people, and they probably long forgotten them. So it's I would call that a destructive habit, but it's an area that can take me off.
Yeah, memory's a funny one. I seem to have this curious thing of not, and I don't know whether it's kind of just, a propensity to look forward at what's coming, but I tend not to revisit the past much, if at all.
Really?
Yeah.
On purpose?
No, just kind of, it seems to be something that I do unconsciously. It just, my brain just doesn't tend to revisit that. I don't know whether it's like repressed stuff that I've just like swept under the carpet and I'm just like, all right, no, I'm not dealing with that anymore, or whether it's just that I just kind of don't. And even sort of memories that I have, a lot of the memories, like you're talking about things that you remember vividly, my memory's not, I wouldn't have said it was that brilliant, because it tends to stay either in the present or in the future rather than revisiting stuff. And if you're not revisiting it, then those memories tend to just kind of fade away.
I have a very prominent memory. Actually, I wouldn't even call it a dream, but I didn't do it on purpose. But I remember in recent times going back in my mind to the house that I was raised in and brought up in. And I went through the front door. I went in the living room and the kitchen, the scullery as we called it.
Yeah.
Up the stairs, into my room. This is before my little brother, and he's 6 years younger than me, came on the scene. Details. All the small details, the ornaments, the what was out in the garden, which stair creaked, stuff like that. Weird, weird, but very, very vivid. And I seem to get a lot of memories like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I suppose memory can be a great thing if it's a positive thing.
Well, I get both.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the problem is when all of the memories that you have collated throughout your life are all negative experiences and you spend time revisiting them, then that's not very good. But
I think you can look out
stuff.
and be spitting in.
Yeah.
I think you can look out, but because you're not that person anymore, that's who you were. You've where you are now is what you've grown into. Well, for some people.
Yeah.
I can look at that like a pond-like experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I've gone through a tough time or an emotionally trying or traumatic time, I don't feel it, but I can see it.
Yeah.
And I can remember it, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't carry over. So.
Yeah. I recently had a catch up with my dad. We went out, had a wine, went for a meal. We do it's sort of our go-to. And, I do enjoy getting deep in conversation. And I asked him a question. What was the best day of his life and what was the worst day of his life?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Which off the cuff, I suppose, is quite it can be quite jarring.
Yeah.
But it's, I never intend any of my questions to have to carry any sort of malice or anything. A lot of the time it's just intrigue, or whether I think that the person that I'm speaking to might somehow, benefit from being asked a certain question. So, for yourself, what would you say was the best day of your life? What was the worst day of your life?
Well, before we go there, just out of interest.
Sure thing.
Have you always been inquisitive like that with your dad? With your parents asking questions?
That's a great question.
Because I'm just wondering if with who you are now, with your podcast and your show, if that's been there all along, growing from a young age.
Yeah.
And does your dad ever make any tiny little comments, as in, you tend to go deep? You've always asked deep questions, or it's they put you on the spot type stuff?
I don't really. It's a really difficult question to answer, actually. I feel as though I've always been somebody that's been quite, well, going back to our word disruptive. I would say that I've been pretty disruptive in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I've always sort of wondered why things are the way they were, you know? Often from a, historically, I would say probably from a negative place, actually kind of questioning authority and questioning, like, what makes you qualified to have a judgment on something when, in fact, if you look at, life at a macro level, none of us have a clue about anything. We are literally, if you look at Carl Sagan's The Pale Blue Dot, we are a sand grain, in this infinite space, and yet we act as though we've got like the keys to the universe and we know everything. And so I guess I probably look at life very much like we're all clueless here. So why are other people pretending, in sort of hierarchies and stuff? Like everything's just illusory. I'm I don't know. It's difficult to say what I'm trying to, or articulate what I'm trying to say. But I think, going back to your original question, I probably always questioned people and stuff.
It's good to be inquisitive, though. Questions are what makes. They're different from opinions.
Yeah,
you're searching.
Yes.
You're always trying to get a different angle or find out someone else's angle on something, and
that's a big part of it. Is that I'm interested in what makes the person them.
Yeah,
and just trying to I sometimes use the phrase like an exploration of the person's consciousness is like really to kind of go in and have a sort of nosy about and be like, what's in there, what's made them the way that they are. And because many human interactions are done so superficially. That I'd rather just kind of, I don't really care about the superficial stuff. It just doesn't interest me. I just have no, it's like, what's kind of the point in that? Talking about events or talking about other people, to me, is just it's not a good use of time. I'd much rather just go deep on like emotion, basically, I suppose, emotions and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
And for me, that's a big part of coaching as well.
Of course,
you can't coach anyone unless you know about them.
Yeah.
It's okay saying do this, or you got to plan more, you got to use your time more, or you got to dig deep in what makes someone tick.
Yeah.
You got another pain points.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all of that,
Well, even just as a way of building relationships with other people.
Yeah.
How can you ever really know or have like a sort of healthy relationship with them if you don't really know who they are?
Yeah.
And like with my dad, for example, like he was 34 when I was born. That's a whole chapter. Well, it's more than a chapter. It's a huge chunk of his life that I was never witness to. I don't, I know him from, my living memory probably from, say, the age of 4 or 5 to date. That's the portion of him that I know. I know very little other than stuff that he tells me or my mum has told me or that family about what created him, what made him how he is, and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of the time when it's questioning, it's kind of like trying to get a really deeper understanding of how he was formed.
Yeah.
You know?
What environment he was raised in.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Them.
I mean, these sorts of things aren't for everyone, and I get that, but it's clearly just the way in which I'm programmed, or experiences and influences that I've picked up throughout my life. That it's something that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but going back to the original question, I guess the best day and the worst days.
The best day and the worst day.
Yeah.
Of my life.
Yeah.
Wow. One of the best days was probably leaving high school.
Seriously?
Yeah. Hated the school.
Yeah.
It was a bad environment for me personally.
What high school was it?
It was in Pennycook.
Mm-hmm.
It was a town called Pennycook. I was probably one of the worst cases of bullying that you never heard about. And suffered in silence for a lot of that for many years. I mean, the face of bullying, when we look at it now, it's changed face. Yeah, you got texts. You got
Like
everything.
cyber, online.
Yeah,
that stuff.
all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The face of it's changed, but essentially the roots of the behavior behind it, the psychology of a bully, hasn't changed.
Mm.
And because I know so many people that are traumatized by it, you know, and these can be men and women well into their adult years, and they carry that stuff around like luggage.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand the weight of that. And there were people in authority at the time that knew about it and laughed it off as well.
Right.
You know, or just turned a blind eye, or
Mm-hmm.
they were ignorant to the whole fact. And this wasn't something that ever related to my parents. I just suffered it. And it's amazing what you can get through.
Yeah.
I always remember George St. Pierre going through it, and some horrific things. And we seem as human beings to wonder what we can bear, how much we can bear, how much we can go through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much the punches and the kicks, and those are bad enough, but it's the other stuff. It's the constant daily humiliation. It's the constant downbeating of collective groups against you. Being spat on in the face on a daily basis is more damaging to me than being punched in the face randomly here and there. And that happened every day. I used to get held down, and they would take turns each at spitting in my mouth.
Oh my! Seriously?
Oh, yeah. There was worse stuff in that as
Jesus.
well. But stuff that you think you can't endure. But from me, it's something that I'm not shy to speak about, especially if it's in terms of helping people that are going through the similar or the same. Today, you know, I would have no qualms about going and giving my 10 cents worth if I thought it was going to help someone.
Uh-huh.
But it creates, on one hand, a monster,
Mm-hmm.
which can give you bad days.
Yeah.
And it can create good positive things where you can share and feed back to people. You can use your experience to build people up and bolster their spirit. And if I can come through it, you can come through it type thing. You know, it can be used positively. But a lot of people can never move away from the trauma that causes them. Because even if it's just, we spoke about presence earlier on, even if it's just a presence thing, if it doesn't get physical,
Mm-hmm.
it can go deep. People can lose their confidence, which is everything. Their social confidence, their self-esteem. It robs you of your... it robs you of many things, actually. But you can use it. Not everyone can use those bad experiences.
Yeah.
And you'll find a lot of people in mindset performance, which I'm always on about, which I love, I'm passionate about, that we all have a reason that we can use a negative, a strong negative to bring some. It's not about knowledge, it's about feeling, it's about passion for something that gets you up.
Yeah.
So whether it's something that you've had to draw from the well a lot of, or you've suffered on your own, it's those things can go really deep. I'm over them now. So my worst days between third and fourth year at high school were every single day.
Jesus.
So leaving school gave me it was a liberation. It was like getting out of prison in a sense.
Yeah.
I could start over. Turns out life's not like that, you know. It took many years for me, for instance, to walk into a boxing gym. It took I got confidence because I had friends who were likewise in that area of life. I developed confidence. I developed confidence in my physical abilities. My mental confidence was the last thing to develop.
Right.
So as you build on that, and you have new friends who respect you, new social circles, and you find out skills that you never. You can either use it in a bad way or you can use it in a good way.
Yes.
You tend to use it in a bad way because you're still carrying a lot of negative luggage around.
Yeah.
So there's a maturation process to go through where you learn that's not the way, you know. You can learn that you've got all these physical skills. For me, I was like, man, I got this jab, I got this right hand, I got an awesome left hook, I got speed, I got accuracy, and I got attitude behind it. But that was the wrong way. But you get some drug from that good feeling that I got just as much of that. Why did I let that happen? You know, why? But you're just a kid.
Yeah.
You're just a kid, and it's not a crime to be a kid.
Precisely.
You're young, you're a teenager. It can be a cruel world for some.
Yeah.
And I don't envy them now. You know, with all the cyber stuff going on, it's
yeah. But it's so bizarre because you're such a, you know, supremely confident guy.
Yeah.
Like really well adjusted. You got, you know, you don't seem like somebody that would have gone through anything like that. Which goes to show how much you don't see of what makes up an actual individual. You know, it's like the iceberg thing. You see the sort of the tip of the iceberg,
Yes.
and that's the bit you know, but it's actually the 80-90% of it is below, and that's where all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm always telling people, don't bury your past. Use it. Because when you bury it, you know it's there. It's not buried, you know. You can hide it from other people, but it's nothing to be ashamed of. Personal growth is nothing to be ashamed of if you don't grow well in one. Every strength was once a weakness.
Yeah.
Every strength you have was once a weakness. And that can be confidence. Confidence is an emotion. It's and bullying is very seldom one-on-one. It's crowd.
Yeah, it's true.
You're
Yeah.
against a crowd. You're against a greater force than yourself.
Yeah.
That's why it's bullying. You know, it can be in the form of one-on-one, but in a lot of cases, it's that you're against the odds. That's why you don't win.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to either your former self or someone that was going through that?
Keep working on yourself. I think it's really good to get involved in some type of sport to develop confidence in your physical ability.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, but I think it's a really good area to target, because once you get confidence in your physical ability, you've still got stuff to deal with in your head. Share it. I never ever shared it with anyone for a long time, but sharing it, talking to someone, probably outside your parents as well, because you have the shame of bringing that to people, you know. And to feel shame is actually can be worse than the beatings that you take.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that can feel as dirty as being spat upon and being smeared and whatever, and all that stuff. You know, there's no end to what bullies can come up with.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of mental torture and stuff like that. And it's very difficult to give advice to 13, 14-year-olds. Personally, I think school systems are very weak. We live in this world now where you're not allowed to defend yourself, even but verbally.
Yeah.
You have to turn the other cheek, but essentially, and you have this intimidation that you're a grass. If you go to the teachers, you're really stripped of all your power to do anything.
Yeah.
But generally, you can't physically defend yourself anyway. I think there's a lot of cop-out in the school systems where teachers will, or the system, won't take it on the onus because they know stuff's going on. They know where it's happening. But there's very little that they can effectively do to deal with it.
Yeah.
Ask anyone who's been bullied if it's been dealt with.
Well, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it's that's the real proof.
Mm.
But
Jeez.
you can use it. You know, it seems like that part of your life will never end. That every day you're dreading on a daily basis, and you go to bed with it, you wake up with it. It's but what it does do, you don't appreciate it at the time, but you do learn resilience.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And I've heard a lot of speakers speak about resilience, and I'm not saying they haven't been through stuff to learn to be resilient, but I think you really need to know what it is to claw yourself up from the dirt and the emotional darkness, to learn to weather the storms and come back stronger.
Yeah.
That's true resilience.
Yeah.
And it's something that you don't go out your way to learn. It's imposed
Yeah.
upon you for some reason or another. You know.
Yeah. Somebody who I'm sure you're a fan of, David Goggins.
Ah, yeah, David.
He speaks a lot about the adversity that he went through. In pretty much every facet of his life, he deals with some pretty heavy shit.
Yeah.
And that really sort of, he uses the phrase, it calloused his mind.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of made him, it gave him the ability to withstand kind of torture. Yeah, and that's kind of made him the article that he is now. All the negative stuff that he endured when he was younger.
The bully and those that put those persecutions on you, they will never be harder or tougher than your own mind. And your own mind is harder on you than they can ever be.
Yeah.
Because when you endure all those hardships, we are much harder on ourselves, and no one can help that.
Yeah.
If you feel that way, for people to try and reach into you rather than you reach out to someone, it's very difficult for them to reach in when you're merciless on yourself, but because of the shame. And that's something that time, endurance, and it produces some things in us. It can create successes, you know. And David Goggins is probably one of the toughest Navy SEALs ever to.
Yeah.
But what he goes through, he can't let himself quit. What he goes through is more than most people are ever prepared to go halfway on. And it works for him, but he still has his demons from the past.
Yeah.
And I don't have demons about the bullying now. I'm absolutely fine with it. Like I say, I'm outside spitting in with it, but I would certainly reach out and share with anyone if I thought in any way it was supporting them. It doesn't define you.
No.
What they're doing to you doesn't define you. You're not any less sort of a human being. You have so much value. You're so precious. You have stuff to offer the world that the world want to hear about. But we don't feel that and see that at the time.
Yeah. It's true.
That's a deep conversation.
It's good. No, it is, but it's a conversation that's definitely worth having.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Right. Well, we should probably wrap it up. I know you need to watch your time a wee bit, and we'll take a wee while to just kind of relax ourselves back into the day. But
that's been a good conversation.
It's been awesome. I've loved it, Max.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your openness there. I think a lot of people can get a lot from that, and I really appreciate it.
I would say just never, ever, ever give up on yourself and what you're capable of doing.
Yeah.
And it is mindset. It's a buzzword. It's a keyword, but make it personal. And depersonalize some stuff and grow in other areas. Don't dwell on what drags you down. Work on the little details of what you can improve every day. 1%. It's this 1% thing.
Yeah.
Just work on improving yourself, warts and all. You know, it doesn't matter. We're allowed to be imperfect. We're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to fall off the wagon, you know.
Yeah.
It's just keep improving and believing in yourself. It's your life. Live it.
Yeah. Great advice. Cool. Max, great having you.
Fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you if you've stuck with us for this time. And if you could subscribe, leave a comment, get in touch, tell us what you think, then that would be great. Until next time.
Thank you.